Morning, Dirk.
Hey, Doug. Morning.
All right.
I'm good. I can't
How
hear
you
anybody.
feeling?
Feeling good. A lot better. Thank you.
How about that stuff? It's
Oh.
real cool.
Crazy. Yeah. So, been isolated, but I'm good. A couple more days. I can't hear anybody at the location.
Derek, how was the meeting in Window Rock?
It was good. I attended via Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom.
Yeah, but the president spoke. Several in Navajo, so it's got to get interpreted. But it went well. Good
Good.
presentation.
Cool.
There we
There
go.
we go.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I'll look for him. Well, at least they want me down in Riverside Square.
Excuse me, folks. We're having a little connectivity trouble with our satellite location, so it'll just be a few more moments. Thank you. Globe's okay? They are? Okay. I think we're waiting for Globe. So Globe is off. Yes. So let's just acknowledge that those who Globe. So eventually anybody can Globe go back eventually and watch it on our website. We'll move forward. And at any point, but at least they'll acknowledge that they support us, but they'll have an opportunity. No, Commissioner McKinney.
So you're going to say... Okay. Okay. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. We're going to start. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We are here live in Payson, Arizona. We are live in Payson, Arizona, and we're also being live streamed on WebEx. We are having difficulties with our Globe location. We do want to recognize that they will be able to, at some point, come back and go onto our website and view this meeting online. If they do come back online, we'll let everyone know. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Mayor Tom Morrissey to say the Pledge of Allegiance for this meeting of the Independent Redistricting Commission.
Everybody join me in saluting the flag of the greatest nation God ever gave us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Madam Chair. Sorry, Commissioner Meal.
I now call the this meeting of the listening tour of the Independent Redistricting Commission in order. We would like to remind the public that COVID is still prevalent. We ask that you follow the Arizona Department of Health guidelines. If you're not fully vaccinated, you should wear a mask in a public space. If you'd like to participate from home, each of these meetings is being streamed through WebEx. Please note, if you would like to make a public comment, you can do so by signing in with staff and filling out the public comment card, and that would be signing in the back there. If you haven't already done so, please fill out the Community of Interest survey. There's a QR code on signs at the sign-in desk and on the public comment cards that will direct you to the link. Please see a member of the staff if you have any questions on that. We have an American Sign Language interpreter joining us virtually, and we have interpreters and headsets available for those in attendance. We also have a transcriptionist who will be transcribing every meeting. Please speak slowly and clearly so we have a clear record of your input. Will the interpreters in attendance introduce themselves now?
Blanche Oakland, interpreting for Latinos.
And at this time, we'll introduce ourselves. I am David Meal. I was a Republican appointee for the Redistricting Commission, and I'm from Tucson, Arizona.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you all here. It's very nice to be back in Payson. My name is Shireen Lerner. I'm one of the Democrat appointees, and I'm from Maricopa County.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Newberg. I am the independent chair of the commission, and I live in Chandler from Maricopa County.
And our other two commissioners are here virtually, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Derek?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Meal. Good morning, everybody. I am Derek Watchman, the vice chair of the commission. I represent Apache County, and I am the Democratic appointee to the commission. Thank you.
Good morning, Payson. My name is Doug York. I'm the Republican representative from Maricopa County for the commission.
And we really appreciate your being here and the feedback that we'll get this morning. It's critical for us in our moving forward and doing our job well. So at this time, we'll move to agenda item 2, a presentation of the process that we're embarking on. And first is a representative of our legal team to start that presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Regula. I'm from the law firm of Snell and Wilmer. I'm joined by my colleague, Sean Summers, from the law firm of Ballard Spahr. Our firms represent the Independent Redistricting Commission. Can you guys hear me okay?
No. Hold it really closely.
Hold it close to your mouth.
Oh, got it. Okay, I'm gonna project I was told that the mic is only for the WebEx, so I'll project. I'll start again. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Ryan Regula. I'm from the law firm of Snell and Wilmer. I'm joined by my colleague, Sean Summers, from the law firm of Ballard Spahr. Our firms represent the Independent Redistricting Commission. As mentioned, we'll be doing a little bit of a presentation. The point of the presentation is to inform you who the Independent Redistricting Commission is, what they do, and a little bit about the process as well. So a good place to start is always the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution requires regular reapportionment of congressional districts, but states are responsible for creating their own maps. Every 10 years, a new redistricting occurs. Historically, from 1912 to 2000, Arizona's legislature controlled redistricting. Then, based upon an initiative passed by the voters, the Arizona Constitution was amended and control of redistricting was given to an independent commission. Based upon Article 4 of the Arizona Constitution, 5 members are required of the Independent Redistricting Commission. No more than 2 of those members may be from a specific individual political party. Thus, there are 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 1 independent. Erica Newberg, who is the chair and an independent, and then 2 Democrats, Derek Watchman and Shireen Lerner, and 2 Republicans, David Meehl and Douglas York, all of whom have introduced themselves to you this morning. According to Article 4 of the Arizona Constitution, there are 6 goals for redistricting. First, districts shall comply with the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. Voting Rights Act. Second, congressional districts shall have equal population to the extent practicable, and state legislative districts shall have equal population to the extent practicable. Third, districts shall be geographically compact and contiguous to the extent practicable. Fourth, district boundaries shall respect communities of interest to the extent practicable. Fifth, to the extent practicable, district lines shall use geographical features such as city, town, and county boundaries and undivided census tracts. Sixth, and finally, to the extent practicable, competitive districts should be favored, where to do so would create no significant detriment to the other goals. Of those 6 goals, we are here this morning to obtain your comments regarding the goal that the district boundaries shall respect communities of interest to the extent practicable. Now a little bit about the timeline. From July to August, we'll be conducting what we're doing here this morning, which is a listening tour. Then in August, the census data will be released and processed. Currently, we do not have that data yet. Then in September, a grid map will be drawn and adopted. It's important for you to know that each independent redistricting commission starts from scratch. Thus, the old district lines are wiped away, and the grid map only reflects 2 of the 6 criteria the commissioners are required to consider. 1, equal population, and 2, compactness and contiguousness. The commissioners then modify the grid maps to account for the other 4 criteria I highlighted earlier, including respect for communities of interest. The commissioners then modify the grid maps to account for those 4 criteria. Then in September to October, possible map drafts are developed, and eventually an official map draft is adopted. From October to November, there's a minimum 30-day public comment period on the official draft map. And then finally, from December to the project end, there'll be revisions to draft maps and the adoption of a final map plan. Regarding public involvement, which is what we're doing here today, there are 3 specific types of public involvement that you should be aware of. The first is this morning, communities of interest, where we're looking for information, and this will be discussed more a little later in the presentation, for what geographic areas or neighborhoods should be considered when drawing draft maps. In other words, we're soliciting your comments. A second way for you to be involved is the commission meetings, which are open to the public. There you can submit public comments at irc.az.gov/public-meetings. And then third and finally, input on draft maps. You can submit proposed draft maps and comments on in-progress draft maps prior to the IRC selection of an official draft map. You can submit proposed revisions and comments after the IRC selection of an official draft map. And you can submit comments on near final maps. And with that, I will pass the baton to Mark.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me in the back okay? Perfect. My name is Mark Flahan. I'm with Timmons Group. With me today on my team, I have Ivy Beller-Sikansky right next to me. She is our demographer from NDC. And then I also have Parker Bradshaw over there from Timmons Group. Today, I want to talk to you guys about a couple of the empowerment tools that we're putting in your hands as citizens. The first one is a socioeconomic report. It's an interactive website with geographic and socioeconomic data, and we'll talk about it a little more on the next slide. The next two mapping tools that we have is a community of interest survey. You probably saw a couple of QR codes when you came in today, and if you scan that with your phone, that would allow you to bring up the community of interest survey live on your phone, or you can go home today and do it on your computer. It actually allows you to draw your own community of interest on a map, and we'll talk about that a little later too. The third tool we have is the redistricting system. It'll allow you to draw and submit proposed map changes, and that is currently in progress and getting set up. The first tool that we have is a socioeconomic report. It has 14 different demographic data points for the entire state of Arizona. This is a web app that's available to you 24/7 online. You can get to it from the IRC's website. You see one acronym up there, that's CVAP, that is Citizen Voting Age Population. And then on top of that, we have some other demographics such as rental housing, other language at home, education, etc. The tool that we have that we're using today is our Community of Interest Survey. You can see on the right side is the community boundary map. This allows you to actually go on and draw your own community of interest right on the map. And this is the most accurate way for us to represent your comments that you can get back to us. And I'm going to turn it over to Ivy, who's actually going to talk to you about what is a community of interest.
Thank you, Mark. So, what is a community of interest? It is a geographic area of people who share a common story or connection. That connection can be common social interests, shared demographic characteristics, similar impacts from a legislative or congressional issue, or any other connection that leads people in a given area to believe they would benefit from being kept together, united, in one legislative and/or congressional district. As you think about your community, think about the points, the factors that Mark listed on the community survey, which says, think about you and your neighbors. Do you have similar jobs? Do you rely on similar public services? Belong to the same neighborhood associations? Are you impacted by some regional environmental concern? Is your community defined by similar regional land use issues, transit concerns, languages spoken, community celebrations or traditions, or other similar issues or characteristics? Any of these characteristics could define a community of interest. Now, it is your turn. As they travel the state on this listening tour, the commissioners want to hear from you. What do you want the commissioners to consider as they draft and ultimately adopt their maps? How do you define your community of interest? Using the various tools that Mark has described, and in your testimony today, we want to hear what brings your community of interest together we want to hear from you today with what brings your community of interest together and what are your community's geographic boundaries. Remember, the commissioners can incorporate your community into their maps only if you let us know where your community is on the map. Thank you for being here today. Now I will turn this back over to the commission staff to begin taking your comments.
Before we move on to Agenda 3, where we will hear your comments, we'll have staff read the rules of the meeting today.
And we also, I want to notate that we have Globe online now, so they're able to hear us and we can see them. So citizens may only speak when recognized by the chair or presiding officer of the meeting if the chair is absent or otherwise has delegated hearing administration authority. In compliance with Arizona's open meeting law, speakers should confine their statements to the issue on the posted agenda, which is before the commission. Speakers are also requested to limit their comments to approximately 3 minutes. Additionally, speakers are required to follow proper decorum. Speakers must use appropriate language. Foul and/or abusive language will not be tolerated. Any speaker failing to follow proper decorum or any other guidelines may be asked to leave. Any breach of the peace or disruption of a commission public hearing may be cause of report to law enforcement, arrest, and prosecution. If someone has expressed the same sentiment, you do not need to speak in order to have your comment recorded. As long as you have filled out the survey, your input will be received and considered by the commission. Everyone is welcome to speak, should you choose to do so. Opposing viewpoints may be expressed by the citizens present. As a courtesy, citizens are reminded to address their comments to the chair and the commission and not to the audience present. Please show respect for all speakers and avoid personal comments. Remember, the commission must hear all sides of an issue to make an informed decision. Back to Commissioner Meal.
We will now begin the public comment portion, and will staff read the names of the first speaker and the next speaker that will be in the queue. Thank you.
Our first speaker is Mayor Tom Morrissey, followed by Chris Morrissey. And immediately following that, Christine Zenko.
Thank you, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners, for doing the right thing by traveling the state to listen to the people about redistricting, and I'm certain that you're getting an earful. And let me say, I'm not used to reading. I usually just spout. But my name is Tom Morrissey, and I am the mayor of Payson. I lived in Phoenix for 25 years and have been living here in Payson for almost 6 years. I have a clear understanding of the difference between urban and rural living, and the difference is like night and day. Both have challenges that require specific representation, and in my opinion, that can only be driven by areas of common interest and not by political strategy, and I emphasize that. For example, rural areas in many cases depend on mining, ranching, farming, and tourism as their economic foundation. There is a commonality present that does not exist in larger communities such as Phoenix and Tucson. The last time the lines were drawn, it was very clear that in some instances they were drawn to serve political purposes and not community interests. This is wrong and caused great confusion and inadequate representation of the people of Arizona. Now we have a chance to learn from those mistakes, what I consider mistakes, by drawing those lines according to the components of the Arizona regulation governing redistricting. They are the U.S. Constitution and the Voting Rights Act, as has been previously stated, which covers all the people and not a certain political and special interests. Composed of equal population, yeah, in a contiguous and compact manner, not a gerrymandered pattern like Congressional District 1 was, which clearly served only a political master. That's my opinion. by reflecting communities of interest, not special interests alone. I realize I'm being redundant in certain cases, but district lines follow natural boundaries that respect school districts and county lines. For example, the Gila County seat should not be separated from the rest of the county. We should keep tribal communities together as stated in federal laws. And we should look at competitive districts only if it is not at the expense of the other 5 components of the law. This commission has a responsibility to place the ship of state back on an even keel. And with that responsibility comes an opportunity to return equal power to the people of this state, and by example, possibly to the rest of the nation. I'm almost done. Now I'm going to pontificate for just a few seconds. Our founders' vision for legislators was for them to come from the community, serve in the legislatures, and then return to the community, and not make their terms in office a lifetime, but rather a short period of their lives. This country belongs to the people, not to the elected. Thank you for allowing me to share my views with you at this time. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Chris Morrissey, followed by Christine Senko.
Okay, you probably caught the significance of the same last name, so try not to use that against me if at all possible. Good morning, Madam Chair and the rest of the commissioners. Thank you for scheduling a listening tour for the rural parts of the state. My name is Chris Morrissey, and my personal perspective comes from having lived in Arizona for 26 years, 6 here in Payson. I spent the last year and a half in a job that took me from Williams to Window Rock and as far south as Miami Globe. Here's what I learned. Our community interests in northern rural Arizona are primarily focused on forest management, water resources and rights, and mining. Basically, a major forest fire would devastate not only folks living here and vacationing, but also our water resources as well. We have a lifestyle comprised of small communities spread apart by many miles, making our needs regarding public transportation, education, and communication services very different than larger, more urban areas. It was quite a jolt to me to discover that northern Arizona has poor or no phone or internet service throughout the area. I think we might have experienced it this morning. This clearly hampers our growth and development. In terms of political representation, I came to realize that this part of our state has been carved into many smaller parts as though we were an afterthought. CD1, for example, goes from Window Rock to the outskirts of Tucson. No common interest there. You will find parts of CD4 and then 3 different LDs in northern Arizona. In a fragmented representation, our residents see themselves as divided by the counties they live in, not legislative districts. People assume if they live in a county, that's how they're represented to vote. Terribly confusing and complicated to try to explain to people. I'm suggesting that you start with northern rural Arizona in terms of drawing state maps. I did not know I could do this, and I would be happy to do it afterwards online. The area geographically is the largest and the easiest to me to draw because you can draw by whole counties and you can get to the population requirement. When looking at legislative lines, I would include the counties of Coconino, Gila, Navajo, Apache, Graham, and Greenlee. Maybe consider moving Flagstaff to a different district since it's also urban. It's the only urban community that we have in this area. I see an easy split between 2 LDs, tribal and non-tribal. All those counties can be split pretty easily along that line. Also, we need to include the Copper Corridor because part of that is in Miami Globe, which is in Gila County, and part of it is in Superior and Kearney in Pinal County, but have everything in common with our area. They're more of our rural area. They fit the rural community interests and needs, even though they're partially in Pinal. Oops. For CD1, the complete counties of Yavapai, Coconino, Gila, Navajo, Apache, Graham, Greenlee, and Cochise. So I added Yavapai and Cochise, and also include the Copper Corridor. That gets us the necessary population and keeps contiguous rural counties with community interests well represented. If we could sum this up, rural Arizona needs to be knit together more closely than it has been for the past 10 years. We need a strong, cohesive voice at the state level. Our public education, infrastructure of roadways and transportation require unique support and consideration. We also need a strong voice, especially at the federal level, to receive our fair share of support for forest and water management, mining, and reliable communication services. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Have a wonderful day, and please enjoy our great slice of heaven up here.
Next up is Christine Zenko, then we will pass it over to Globe. They have a speaker there.
Commissioners, my name is Christine Senko. I've been a Payson resident for 8 years. I live here, shop here, take classes at the Gila County Community College, and enjoy the summer concerts in the park. You are charged with creating fair and competitive districts while also protecting the voting power of our communities of color. That is a difficult task, and I hope you can find the balance. I consider my community of interest to be all of the voters of Gila County. Gila County is a rural area. We should be aligned together away from the cities, not part of Maricopa, not part of Flagstaff. We should be balanced in our political views. When we have non-competitive districts, the party in power has no incentive to listen to the minority party. When the numbers are completely lopsided, as they are in Congressional District 4, the minority party has no voice and no hope of having a voice. Without competition, the quality of candidates on both sides deteriorates. This does not produce good governance. It is bad for everybody. When districts are competitive, however, elected officials don't see their offices as safe or tenured, and they must answer to the voters. There is generally an increase in bipartisan governance. Also, when districts are competitive, the minority party knows that the next election cycle will bring new opportunities to get their candidate elected. When districts are competitive, every vote matters. That is the strength of our democracy. Arizona is a purple state. Neither party has a huge lead over the other, and a full 1/3 of voters are independents. This makes our state very competitive at the federal level for presidential and U.S. Senate candidates. Let's make our districts purple too, and assure that every vote truly matters in Gila County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Can I ask a quick follow-up question? You spoke about a community of interest, a minority interest, people of color here. Along those lines, are there specific fundamental needs that are being denied right now amongst that community of interest? And I'm talking about specific needs for that community.
I'm asking you to maintain their voting power. We have 3 reservations, native tribal lands, and they are in one basic precinct, and they are part of CD1, which the mayor has talked about, along with several other tribal lands across several counties. I can't speak to them. They have to speak for themselves. Okay, they have enough voting power to be able to elect one of their own. That is key. That is key. They have to retain that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Very much.
And then we will pass it over to Globe for your speaker.
Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Pro Tem Chair Meal, and members of the commission and the listening audience. My name is Michelle Crank, and I am the Public Information Officer for the Independent Redistricting Commission, and I have one speaker by the name of Jesse Bryant.
Commissioners, welcome to Gila County. You're probably tired of seeing and hearing from me, but I just wanted to welcome you again to our county, our rural area here. This is kind of the gateway to rural Arizona. And I wanted to emphasize to you again, as you've toured now much of these 5 eastern counties, how much, I think you've heard a pretty good chorus of voices talking about how we have our communities of interest here. And to emphasize that just the struggles that we deal with, water, infrastructure, and so forth, but we don't have the resources. And so we have to come at them in unique ways to address them. So like I just learned today about some good friends that have a home in the foot of our mountains where the fire was, and we had due to the rains, they had a mudslide that took out their entire ranch and their home. So these are some of the issues that we deal with. Gila County, population of about 60,000, is 96.3% public or tribal lands. That means less than 4% is private, and half of that belongs to the mines. So our economic development, our resources to address our issues have to be very unique, and we share this in common with our 5 eastern counties, as well as the Copper Corridor and like the Verde Valley as well. Just again, wanted to bring that to your attention as you hear from others in Payson here. Again, it's unfortunate that this hearing was at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. I know very many people who would love to have been here, but have church commitments this morning and could not. I hope we will get this opportunity again at a more reasonable time. But again, thank you for being here.
That is my one and only speaker from Globe. I'll hand it back over to Payson.
Thank you, Globe. Our next speaker is Jose Medina, followed by Peter Morask. Sorry about that. And followed by Karen McMacken.
You did say it was Medina, right?
Yes. Here you go.
Good morning. My name is Jose Angel Medina, but everybody knows me as Angel, I'm sure. Mayor. Anyway, I'm here to speak mostly from experience, not so much politically, some economics. I have been a resident of Gila County for 50 of my 70 years. I didn't plan on staying in Gila County. I really like Maricopa, but I ended up staying here because I love Gila County. And because of that, I ended up marrying a local gal, my wife there, Luisa. And I got a job at the copper mine, starting at Inspiration, moved on to Phelps Dodge, Cypress, and now more recently, I retired from Freeport McMoran. So I kind of brag about being one of the few that has worked every department, every part of the property there. So I've got a lot of experience as far as how the operation goes. Because of my experiences there, they kind of held me back from taking any kind of special supervisory position because I was out in the field all the time. So they liked that. So I got to talk to just about everybody concerning economics and also security. So I guess I'm kind of speaking for the mining industry in a sense, not officially, but I also have a lot of friends in the Kearney, which is the Ray Mines, the smelter, the open pit, which dates back to when it was Kennecott. And because of that, I mixed with those people and we shared experiences. We went through strikes together. We shared experiences, our needs in the copper industry, as far as the workers are concerned. Because of that, I got a very good picture of our needs, which right now we are kind of divided, as we've been speaking. I would like to report, or I was going to borrow a transcript from some people, friends of mine, but I don't want to bore you with that because they've already hit that pretty hard. But anyway, being divided the way we are, it's more than just a physical division. It's a social division. Our small communities are real close-knit. Kearney, Winkleman, Superior, Globe, Miami, and even as far down as Claypool, a small little town. We're divided into smaller communities, and because of this division, we really don't express to each other our real concerns, which would go into politics, okay? So also, I've got so much to say, I don't know how to say it all at one time, but one of the main concerns was I have always experienced a division with Gila County. Like I said, 50 years, I still remember the division that was due to a dirt road. It took a dirt road to get people from Payson to Globe to the county seat and back. And, oh, is there a time limit? I'm sorry. So, okay, am I there? Yes. Okay. So anyway, I'm sorry it took so much time, and thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Next up is Peter Morvass. Thank you, I'm so sorry. And then we have Karen Klontz.
So I'm Peter Moravchik. I live up in Strawberry. I would consider myself part of the greater Payson area, as people in Strawberry and Pine pretty much rely on Payson for goods and services. My concern with regard to redistricting is that rural voices don't get combined with more numerous urban voices and drowned out. I'll be brief because some of these points have kind of already been made. But we have issues and concerns here that often clash with those of urban centers. For example, we're all aware of the fire danger after the Backbone fire. We managed our way into an excessive fuel load situation through nearly a century of overactive fire management, and now we need to aggressively manage our way out of it. And, you know, this viewpoint often clashes with those of urban areas. I mean, we need fuel reduction through controlled burns, clearing, logging, et cetera. And urban dwellers who don't live here and understand the issues often prefer an approach that leaves things to nature, which just isn't practical once you've already intervened. As another example, we have health and safety issues, which sometimes go ignored. There were 2 large boulders blocking Forest Road 708, which was delaying rescues of injured and stranded hikers, and also jeopardizing our banking and even 911 services, because fiber optic cables serving the community go through that road. It took us literally years to get past outsider objections to getting those 2 boulders out of there. And as has already been stated, we also rely heavily on extractive industries for jobs, and those industries are often opposed by urban dwellers. So in conclusion, I would just urge all of you to ensure that district boundaries are drawn in such a fashion as to ensure representation of our concerns without our voices being diluted to nothing by those living outside the immediate area. They often have contradictory views, but they don't have the knowledge base we do, and they don't have any health, safety, or job stake in the outcome of the decisions which affect rural life. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Karen Klontz, followed by Muriel Green.
Good morning. And thank you for coming and allowing us to have this meeting. It's very important. Most of the things I was going to say has already been said. However, I just want to emphasize one point. In Payson, and a lot of Gila County, it's 75% retired people. That means there are some of us who have difficulties getting around to voting, polling places, and even just to restaurants. So the one thing that you could do for our community interests here is to make it easier to get to the polling places by keeping them local. Let's don't make it more difficult to vote. Let's make it easier to vote. Use our common sense, and you as a committee, I'm sure, you know all of these things that I don't know because I haven't lived in this state long enough to really know all of these boundaries. But I do have common sense, and I know that your patriotism and your love of this great country is going to make it better for all of us. Just make it easier to vote. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Muriel Green, followed by Priscilla Brewer. Muriel? No? Okay, is Muriel here? Okay, all right, we will. Priscilla, you're next. Priscilla Green.
That's okay. But I appreciate you guys are here and you're paying attention to our concerns. My name is Priscilla Brewer. I am Latino, resident of Gila County. And I would like the commission please to follow their 6 responsibilities of duty described in the law. Many feel the last commission failed in those major duties with an even population distribution and focusing more about competitive criteria over community interests. Gila County and District 6 are rural areas of common interest that shouldn't have any urban population in it. I moved from Maricopa County to Gila County, and I personally noticed that rural counties carries more complex issues in so many different aspects as follow. Number 1, forest land. Wildfire problems, especially in summer. Wildlife population, increase or decrease. And recreational or emergency access limitation. National forests do not allow for a county tax base. Number 2, water issues. Rural counties people live with septic systems and water wells. Ranchers require water supply for their livestock. It is an issue all year round. It's very different from cities and towns. Number 3, mining in the copper corridor. Mining and copper industries in the Globe area create a copper corridor of small communities to the south into Pinal County, creating a common interest issue. This area was divided by the last commission that should not happen again. The area has a large Hispanic population with common interests and issues that shouldn't be divided, please. I have seen a proposed model that I would like you to take in consideration in the legislature and congressional districts as follows. Legislature, District number 6, Coconino, Gila, South Navajo, South Apache, Graham, Greenlee, and Superior. Congressional, I have a Yavapai, Coconino, Apache, Apache Navajo, Gila, Graham, Greenlee, and Cochise. Thank you very much for your time, and God bless all.
Our next speaker is Theresa Kelleher, followed by Gary Morris.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your work. Appreciate your studies and working to maintain a balance. I know that your hearts are in the right place. I appreciate your working together. I'd just like to present a few points. They've been said some, but I'll say what I've written since I'm prepared. I'd just like you to please continue to avoid drawing lines that allow certain districts to be convoluted in order to give one party power and to dilute the voting power of specific communities. Our maps can't be drawn to favor one group over another. And I think that has been helped by the commission, and I just want that to continue. Our bipartisan solutions, I think, in Arizona are the best. We are a purple state, and so it would be really wonderful to encourage people to work together in a nonpartisan fashion. You all are modeling that, and I appreciate it. I would like the diversity of our citizenry to be reflected, and most importantly, that we need to follow the Voting Rights Act. It's the law. We want all people to have their votes protected. We have to keep that as our guiding principle. And I know it's tricky to draw the lines, but we have to make sure that people's needs are met and that all of our citizens are represented. I've lived here for 6 years, about the same amount of time as our mayor. I've been visiting Payson for 30 years. I'm an active community member. I enjoy adventuring where I live and supporting local businesses. I work here part-time. I value our town and our surrounding areas. And I'd like for everyone who lives here to have a voice and for all in rural Arizona to have a voice. I think you've heard lots of good points being made, and I appreciate your service, and please be as nonpartisan as you can. We have to find common ground. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gary Morris, followed by Pam Dirks.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you very much for the large number of hearings that you've scheduled. I think it's very wise for you to get such a wide input on this important issue. My name is Gary Morris. I've lived in Gila County and Strawberry for since 2008. In full disclosure, I'm currently the chairman of the Gila County Republican Committee. And let me state that I wish that Republicans want a fair, honest, and unbiased redistricting process. I participated in the last redistricting meetings a decade ago. I was disappointed in the outcome when the commission failed to fully adhere to the 6 duty responsibilities as described earlier. They placed a priority on competitiveness and not on community interest. I request that the commission strictly adhere to the defined duties and responsibilities, even in the most heated debate, which I'm sure will surely come. Gila County and Legislative District 6 are rural communities. Our law enforcement, fire protection, government structure, tax base, and many others are far different than an urban or metropolitan community. We believe that the intrusion of an urban population into legislative or congressional districts will risk overriding the needs and interests of rural communities. It's essential that the rural communities and districts remain rural. Today in Gila County, 3 different legislative districts dip into the county. We can't have that in the future. It disrupts community interest. Mining and copper are major industries in the Globe area, as well as communities south of Globe. Mr. Medina talked a lot about that, and that creates a community of interest. Globe, the county seat, nearly got split during the last commission, but retained its integrity. The commission then went on to proceed to divide those communities' interests, mining interests, south of Globe, as was addressed by Mr. Medina. The Copper Quarter is heavily populated by Hispanics, as described by Priscilla, creating another community of interest that was split by the previous commission. That needs to remain intact. As to Congressional District 1, we currently have a significant gerrymandering around northern Arizona all the way down the east side to the outskirts of Tucson. We don't want metropolitan population influence the needs of rural communities. I've reviewed two proposed redistricting maps, one for legislative and one for congressional. I won't read those because previous speakers have defined those counties. Got it. So with that, I've asked the commission to seriously consider those proposed models, and I will certainly submit to what I've seen. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Pam Dirks, followed by Jane Evans.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Pam Dirks, and I've lived in Arizona over 50 years, 4 of them here in Payson after we retired. I want to welcome you to Rim Country. I don't know that anybody's welcomed to Rim Country. That is a community of interest. And I'm going to read a little bit here. Monkey on Rim dominates our life both below and on top of the rim. The first thing you notice is the views of the rim, which are majestic, especially when there's snow. The rim can affect our weather. It attracts many visitors. They come here to visit our rural lifestyle for the forests, the lakes, the wildlife, hiking, camping, and the quietness to get away from the metro, the urban's life. This is definitely a community of interest. Living in our rural area has some realities that you may not think of if you live in a metro area. I'm going to give you a few. You're at least an hour away to any major place, Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff. You must think of medical evacuation by air. That was one of the first wake-up calls for me. Living in a forest, you're actively aware of wildfire and the threat it poses to you and your family. There are 3 highways out of Payson. Because of fires this last season, 2 out of those 3 highways were closed. That was very distressing at that time. Most areas of the country have internet redundancy. Rim Country does not. Think about that. We call that the dead end of the internet. Yes, if the one line into our community that somebody else spoke about is cut or broken, we do not have internet until that line is repaired. It effectively shuts down our commerce. An outage of the one line can last hours and hours, days. This includes your mobile phone access. So just think of having no internet and no mobile phone. As you can see, some of our concerns are not the same as those in a metro area. I ask that you please keep our rural voice intact. In the last redistricting, Gila County was divided into 2 congressional and 3 legislative districts. Counties are a community of interest that predates the founding of our nation and state. For example, 14 of the 15 Arizona counties were created before Arizona became a state. The 15th county, La Paz, was created by the demand from the residents to be independent of Yuma County. That speaks of a community of interest to me. So to keep us in a compact district, we belong in a rural district with the eastern Arizona rural counties. Please do not discount the value of rural counties. Please don't dilute our rural voice by splitting the rural counties into different districts and treating us as a suburb of the larger cities. Thank you so much for listening.
The next speaker is Jane Evans, followed by Robert Hirschberger.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Maybe you'd like to share a little bit more about Rim Country, what those boundaries are, so that we, can make sure we're understanding exactly what you're referring to.
What I refer to, well, when you come up here, Payson, they call it Payson is the center, and there's a lot of rural communities out. If you get out on the forest roads, they're all below the rim. So when you see the rim, the flat peak up here, there's on top of the rim. And I was up driving up on the rim yesterday, and I noticed up on top, they call it rim country up there as well, even though Payson kind of calls it rim country down below. And because of that rim, it also affects our weather. But the rim goes all the way to like near Sholo. So rim country is very wide. It's the Monkey on Rim, and I've even seen it referred to over near the Verde Valley. Was there any? So it goes all the way from Verde Valley all the way to the eastern part of our state near Sholo. Okay, so up to the 260? Well, the 260 will take you towards Sholo, and the 260 will take you over to Camp Verde. So yeah, it's kind of that's the corridor, that highway. Thank you.
Yeah, first I would like to thank Erica Newberg and the rest of the Redistricting Committee for coming up here and scheduling these public hearings. Rural Arizona often feels overpowered by Maricopa and Pinell and the urban centers, so we especially appreciate you coming to listen to us. My name is Jane Evans. I'm an Arizona native. I've lived here in Payson for 12 years. Before that, I lived down in the valley. 10 years ago, as people have talked about before, our county was split into 3 legislative districts and 2 CDs. So when we have an election, we have county candidates, we have LD6 candidates, we have LD8 candidates, we have CD1 candidates, and we have CD4 candidates all running in Gila County. It creates confusion. It's very, hard for people to understand, and we really need to get our county back together. The average person is just left scratching their head. Our community of interest is our county, and it needs to be put back together. We help each other in time of need. For instance, this last fire season, we all helped each other with evacuations and one thing or another. We do have a lot of common interests, and we love our county and we love our rural way of life. In the northeastern Arizona, our critical issues are forestry, water, ranching, tourism, and mining. These are completely different from issues in those urban centers. Right now, CD4 incorporates part of Pinell County, part of Maricopa County, and part of Yuma County, as well as some of the northern counties. I see little community of interest. Certainly Yuma, a border farming community, does not have a district, has little in common with forest management and the wildfire and issues we have up here in northern Arizona. Following the natural boundaries and reflecting communities of interest is mandated, Gila County should be aligned with the other rural counties of Graham, Greeley, Southern Navajo, Southern Apache, and Coconino, and the Copper Corridor of Pinell County. I urge you to respect our community of interest and reunite us. Thank you.
The next speaker is Robert Hirschberger, followed by Darla Carlisle.
Yes, to the commission, I really appreciate your community and public service in this regard. Excuse me. I appreciate your community service and public service serving on this commission. I know it's a tough task, and I support you in every way. So thank you so much. I would like to echo a little bit what Chris Senko said, one of the first speakers, that it's important that we don't create districts where candidates select their district and move to it in order to win an election. It shouldn't be so firmly in one political camp that you end up having outside politicians come into the district and win in the district against local politicians. I think that's something that you should consider very much in the redistricting process. I think pretty much the rest of the things that have been said, I do consider the rim country and all of Gila County and the forestry, the mining, and those, the cattle interests are kind of common. They're rural interests, and they should be kept together. So I do appreciate your coming. Thank you so much.
And our final three speakers are Darla Carlisle, Mireille Green, and Andy Mckinney.
Good morning, Madam Newberg, Chairwoman, and committee members. Thank you for letting me speak regarding this important subject. A key part of our area is tribal communities. I feel the tribal should be contained in the Legislative District 7. This area would be Cochina, Gila, Navajo, and Apache counties. Legislative District 6 would be the non-tribal areas, which would be the counties of Cochina, Gila, Southern Apache, Southern Navajo, Graham, and Greeley. It should also include the Copper Corridor of Superior, Kearney, and Globe. Regarding the congressional district, the current area contains the most manipulated part of the state, running from Window Rock to the outskirts of Tucson. The rural areas have been chopped in too many parts. I am advocating for combining the rural parts of the state, running from Cochina, Yavapai, Gila, Navajo, Apache, Greeley, Graham, and Cochise. All of these counties are similar in issues and in needs: forestry, water, preservation of our land, education, and public transportation. I'm a child advocate. I have taught school for 30 plus years in all types of settings. The rural schools need our representation. They have different needs, from the curriculum to sports, etc. Our children deserve the same education that they can get in a large city. It can be done. It just needs a lot of brainstorming and representation. My granddaughter plays volleyball for a large school in Phoenix. She has several schools across the USA coming for her, offering her scholarship. She has wide exposure. A girl in Payson a couple of years ago, who is 6'3" and a fabulous player, did not get any offers. I felt really bad for her. Our schools up here need to be competitive when something like this happens. Our students should be equally prepared to go to college as the students are in a large school. We need to keep our county seat of Globe in our district, as it is similar to Payson. It is extremely important to keep rural areas together. Then we can have equal population, natural boundaries, a community of interest, contiguous and compact districts. It will follow the Constitution and Voters' Rights Act. In my proposal, no county would be divided. We would not be dominated by Phoenix or Tucson, which have very little in common with us. I truly love Arizona and the people here. I hope you will consider my request, and we can be the best that we can. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, Madam Chair Newman, and your committee. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mireille Green, and our final speaker would be Andy Mckinney.
Down. Down. Good boy. Thank you. Apologize for the delay. Good morning, committee members. Sit down. Sorry. I'm an unruly child sometimes. Madam Chair, appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. This is a very important project, the redistricting, redistributing the lines and all of that. I understand how difficult this must be for all of you. I'm a newcomer to this area, and I heard some folks here talk about purple state. Well, I guess I'm a purple midget because that podium is as big as I am, and I'm an independent, so I must be purple. It's not a question of party lines at all. It's not a political issue. I'm a newcomer in the area. I chose Payson because my children and grandchildren live down there in the valley, but I prefer a more rural area. The first thing, oh, well, maybe not the first. I think I opened my couch first. One of the first things I did after I got here was to change my voters' registration to this district. As an immigrant, I think that, well, not I think, I believe, I strongly believe that the right to vote was the most important right I was granted when I became a citizen. And by golly, I am going to defend my vote, and I'm going to defend my voice, and I'm going to be heard for as long as I can stand up. But I was very surprised to realize that our rural district is actually not totally representative of our area. Living in a rural area is presenting some different challenges than it does when you are living in a city. By the same token, the people who are in the more urban area of our district, they deserve to have our votes not impede their needs. We don't have the same need, it's that simple. It's therefore important that the districts be homogeneous. And by that, I don't mean we should all look the same. God forbid, it would be so boring. We need to take into consideration the need of the communities first and foremost. A rural district needs to have boundaries as much as that is possible that include counties and towns with similar concerns. Some of these concerns, for example, forest management. Well, I don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to school you on that. But I understand this is a major, major problem around here. I know a little bit more about schools. Schools in rural area, we know, have a larger number of students or children in low-income households. We also know that fewer of those students will continue on to college. I'm sorry? That's time. It's my time? Yes. Oh my God. Well, we need unique solutions. I will wrap it up. We need unique solutions for our problems which are different from theirs. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to us, and I hope you will give our concerns some considerations. Thank you.
And our final speaker today is Andy Mckinney.
Madam Chairman, I want to thank you for coming all the way up here to hear us today. This is very refreshing and in clear distinction from the previous panel 10 years ago. So thank you very much. I'd like to speak specifically to the issues of Gila County. We are small in population. There are less people in Gila County than there are probably in a 2 or 3 mile area in Maricopa. There are less than 60,000 of us. So there's not very many of us. And we're also poor. Gila County is the 3rd poorest county in Arizona. When Peter up in Pine, or when Angel down in Miami, or me in Star Valley needs the assistance of the sheriff, we all call the same sheriff. But the sheriff's revenue base in Gila County is 3.5% of the surface area of the county. All of the rest is owned either by tribal entities or by the federal government. And we are not allowed to tax that. So when we call the sheriff, Peter lives way up in Pine, 2.5 miles from, or 2.5 hours from Globe. We have people in Young, 2 hours from Globe, the county seat. And the sheriff, because he doesn't have enough deputies, he doesn't have enough trucks, he doesn't have enough cars, and because our cable system is so defective. Who knows when a sheriff is going to be out there to help him. And then the previous board made this even worse. He divided right kind of at the navel of Gila County. The top half is in one congressional district and one legislative district. The other half of the county down in where the county seat is in a different legislative district and a different congressional district. And to make matters even worse, the previous board saw fit to reach in to a specific neighborhood down by the Roosevelt Dam and grab that neighborhood, tear it out of Gila County, and put it into a third legislative district. Now, where's the community of interest there? When I call the sheriff and I live in that little splop that they ripped out, well, thank you very much. For the record, I live in Star Valley, town of less than 3,000. I'm the vice mayor there. I'm also an official in the local Republican Party. So thank you for your time.
On behalf of all of my fellow commissioners, we want to thank you today. You don't know how valuable this input is to us. We are listening very closely. The things that you're saying matter to us. They will be taken into account. We will have trade-offs, and not everyone's going to be happy at the end of the day. But we will listen very closely to the testimony that we've heard here and at the other places that we're having hearings. So I want to thank you. As you've also heard earlier in the presentation, on our website, we have easy-to-use tools for learning about and sharing information about your community of interest. So rather than relying purely on the testimony today, we encourage you to go online, and you can even go as far as to submit a draft map that you would like to see. Or you can just submit a map of your own community of interest as you perceive it. This will ensure that we will correctly understand your definition of your own community. So we encourage you and your friends and neighbors to share your thoughts through these web tools that didn't exist 10 years ago and that we're really trying to take advantage of to get more input from you. So anyone can do this online anytime. There's no requirement to attend one of these meetings to give us feedback. And again, we want to encourage that to occur. So thank you very much for your testimony today. Thank you for taking the time and your interest in this really important endeavor. Thank you. And with this, we will adjourn the meeting.